Okay, you can start your meeting now.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call this ARPA GBI RFP Selection Committee meeting to order pursuant to City Ordinances 64102 and 64103. And I will take the roll. Ms. Garmendia.
Present.
Mr. Sykes.
Present.
Ms. Kyung.
Present.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
And Lane present. First order of business is the discussion of the implementation RFP score sheets. I will pass that over to James.
Yeah, so I'll kick us off with just that we submitted the questions from last week and we got answers back. And we're kind of waiting on some guidance from the city councilor about some of the answers. So I'd like for us to, discuss this, but I think it's in our best interest that we wait on their guidance before we make an official selection for the implementation RFP.
Okay, great, because that's the one where I haven't submitted my score sheets yet because I was reading through the responses and trying to update and interpret some of their answers. So that works for me. Thanks.
Yeah. So if you want, we can talk through some of the responses that we got, if that's helpful for scoring, and that's how we can spend the discussion time.
Yes. Do we want to start with the Deeper Life Church and Forward?
Yeah, let's start there.
So, and I just want to confirm this, they sent this one sheet of paper with handwritten responses.
Yep, they did.
Okay. Interesting choice. And was it responded to by Deeper Life Church or Forward? Did it?
Deeper Life Church. Yeah. Yeah, and Forward was CC'd. So it was, a response for.
Okay. Well, their answers were pretty short, but illuminating all the same. I would have wanted to see more detail about their experience working on similar projects, which they didn't provide. And it's not quite clear if they're serving as a what work they would be doing in order to elicit donations, and what they mean by benefits counseling also. So so I think this one answered questions for me, so it was helpful. So that's end of my comments on that one.
Does anyone else have any comments on the Deeper Life Church response?
No, I think their responses say more by not giving enough detail. Still curious on how the relationship works between Deeper Life Church and Forward.
I know I don't have anything. I would say, just since it is a public meeting and we did talk about the questions that we had, in case we have viewers or, now or in the future, do you want to read out the questions and responses just so we can have the public informed?
Yeah. Do you think I can also share screen? Do you have a preference?
I don't.
Okay.
The group does. I'll defer.
Some people can see the questions we asked.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and sorry, looking to share screen. All right. Can you all see this?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, we asked a few questions divided into buckets of work, starting with just an overview of their partnership description, asking details regarding Deeper Life Church's relationship to Forward within the proposal. And they've written their response here to ensure the ability to accept donations. We asked in line items A through C, just more clarity and details. So any background information, if there's history of partnership between the two organizations, if it's strictly for the sake of ensuring that they are able to accept donations, or if there's other services that should be mentioned. And they've provided yes or no responses. So I'm pretty brief. And then we asked some more questions about Deeper Life Church and their experience working on similar projects. They said yes. And then about their residency in the city, which they put St. Louis. And then the third bucket is about donation acceptance and ability to report on donations. So they said that they can accept donations. And then we asked about their capacity to comply with financial reporting requirements. And they said yes. Does Deeper Life Church have any experience accepting federal grant dollars? No. And then finally, 3C, have they accepted donations in support of other external projects and programs? Assumedly of similar scope, which they said yes. And then we asked for clarity around benefits counseling, which we asked both parties this. They just gave, the blanket yes. Do you intend to provide it? They do. And then do they have the capacity to provide benefits counseling or hire benefits counselors to support families? Yes, they do. And then budget, can you provide more details on how the implementation partner budget would be dispersed between Deeper Life Church and Forward? And they provided some detail that Deeper Life Church would receive $50,000 for services, and the remaining budgeted amount, I assume, would go towards Forward for their services that they offer. And then just pro bono services, and this is, a part of the rubric, but just asked if they intended to provide any services in addition to the services named that go beyond the budgeted amount. And they said, no, we don't. Should I stay on here? Or does anyone have any quick responses to that? Or
did we have a question about their timeline? Is this the one that we had questions about their timeline breakdown?
If so, it was not captured in the list of questions that was sent to them.
Yeah, I guess for future RFPs, maybe asking questions that aren't yes or no.
Yeah. Kelly, did you want to say something? I think, did you come off mute?
I'm okay.
Okay. Well, perfect. I'm gonna stop sharing for this one. Are we good to move on to the Q&A for Up Together?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I see consensus. This is the questions and answers submitted to Up Together for the implementation RFP. So the first bucket of questions were for the budget. We asked for clarity around the budget amount for the program. More specifically, the funds available for this RFP was $400,000, and this was not reflected in the budget that they submitted in their proposal. So we asked for some clarity on that. This is their response. It's kind of long, so I'll just kind of pause here for folks to read through it. but this is their answer.
Yeah, if I had to summarize, they're basically saying that they'll give us pro bono for the rest of what they budgeted. That they're gonna change their budget to the maximum that was allowed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I will say too, I think one of the things that I was struggling with in scoring too is I know what we've allocated, you know, in terms of amounts for these things, but it's hard to say what are the I guess normal, so to speak, amounts for these services. So I didn't get the sense that some of them were saying, you know, we usually charge X, but it is a pro bono, and maybe that's something, I don't know, on our end that we could have clarified, but yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
So I didn't, you know, I would say penalize too harshly for those who didn't explicitly outline pro bono services, but, you know, didn't want to assume that there were services provided for pro bono work that just were costs that were just like, we're just not going to charge you those.
Yeah, that's a good point. And differentiating like what is services offered and what is labor. So like they're offering labor and, you know, capacity for as far as pro bono services, but and then I guess the amount that we're paying for is the specific service. And I think that would have been nice to have that laid out for all proposals.
Mhm.
Am I good to scroll past this? Because there's actually a budget a table that they provide on the second page.
Okay.
Okay, I see head nods. Can you all see this good enough? I think I could.
Yep.
Okay. So this timeline aligns with the RFP, which is reassuring.
And they said they could accept donations, right? I'm just updating my score sheet. Because they're a nonprofit.
I believe it's a later question. We'll have to.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Because I scored it as a 10, so unless I missed something, I think I read in there that they do.
Yeah.
This is, yeah,
I'm gonna.
they are a nonprofit. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess one of the main questions was here's whether they updated their staffing or explain more about their staffing model
Mm-hmm.
so that they have 60 people that work there. Now, what was still confusing was, do they have just 2 that are dedicated solely to St. Louis, but they have 60 overall that support all their clients?
Yeah, that's a good point. And this is in reference to the 4th bucket of questioning. We asked about team size and capacity, their ability to support, because in their original proposal, they provided 2 main points of contact, and then they just clarified a little bit more.
Like support team, that suggests more than one person, so.
Yeah. They also mentioned their Midwest partnership, which I'm guessing they do this kind of work regionally or similar types of projects and programs. Hmm. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, is it a link? Can you?
It is a link.
And it goes to their org chart.
Okay. Okay, so they have 60 members, 60 staff, and then what are can you recognize the names of which ones they said they listed as the points of contact? Is it one of their support specialists?
I'm gonna scroll and see.
Is it these two people, the Midwest Partnership?
Yeah, these are the two.
Okay,
And that's just for partnerships and revenue. So I guess what they're communicating is that while they may own this like region, they have this is their finance team.
okay,
And this is their human capital team and support staff team. So I think all of them would be integrated, I'm assuming.
okay. And so they're donating staff time for all these in order to make our budget.
I believe so, yeah. And now I think I can go back. Are we good with the org chart? Or would you like me to keep scrolling?
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad that brought me back. Yeah, then they clarify for pro bono services that, yep. It's staff.
Okay.
I think that's all of the questions that we asked.
Yeah.
For Up Together. So I'll stop sharing now.
Okay. I think I'm just updating my score sheets. I'll send those over to you. I think I've learned enough to finalize my scores.
Perfect. And any advice or guidance that we get from the city councilor will be forwarded to all selection committee members to help with scoring and decision making. So with that, Treasurer Lane had to step away for an important call. I'm not fully entirely informed on Robert's rules of order, so I'm gonna attempt to do this properly. I might need some help. Do I motion to close discussion? Is that? Yeah, I motion to close discussion on the implementation RFP.
I think technically you don't need to, because I think for the purpose of, we did not even go into motioning to open discussion.
We just
It does
because it's on the
differ
agenda
between different committees and how they run it. So you don't need to close anything because we never opened it.
Okay. Then should we move on to agenda item 3, which is discussion for the data and evaluation RFP?
Thank you. Before we do, can I ask a question on implementation, just so
Yeah.
we're all on the same page? So Treasurer's office is recommending that until you all get more guidance from the city councilor's office that we hold on voting. Is there a desired time you want us to come back, or you'll follow up through email?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because today was the due date for the financial distribution RFP. So I was hoping towards the end of this meeting, we could set some time at the end of next week. I know at least the treasurer will not be available Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully Thursday or Friday, we can find some availability to discuss the financial distribution RFPs and revisit the conversation for the implementation partner RFP.
But
how does everyone feel? Sorry?
Next week for next week?
Yeah.
Grace, aren't you trying to get out of town?
I will be out of town, but we will reach my life. It's okay. That sounds like a great plan, James, to revisit it at the end of the meeting. We can talk about data eval if you want.
Okay, let's do that. And I think we can technically achieve a quorum if need be. So we can talk through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a quorum, so.
Cool. Okay, so for data and evaluation, everyone's scores are in. I think that we have most of the information that we needed to score. With the treasurer's advice in mind, I am going to pull up Omni's questions and answers just so that we can talk through those to start discussion, and then I'll also present the average scores for both proposals for us to discuss the differences. Bear with me while I pull up the Q&A. Okay. So for Omni, we had 3 questions. The first was about residency. I recall us having a question about the staff person that they had in Missouri, and in the response, this is what they provided. Just naming their capacity to work virtually, essentially. And they're explicit to say that there is not an Omni staff person located in St. Louis.
Mhm.
And then for qualitative work, we just asked about whether these would occur virtually or if they'd be kind of on the ground and present. And they provided a pretty extensive answer. I'm going to pause again just because there's a lot to be read here. But if anyone has any comments or wants to respond to what they're reading in this paragraph.
Yeah, I mean, they make a good point in that the childcare, travel, and scheduling are all harder to do in person, as long as you have the technological capacity. So they're not wrong about that. But I think one of the things we were looking for is flexibility, and they do say that they're willing to amend basically their proposal if this is like really becoming a requirement.
Mm.
And that they're just initially proposing virtual focus groups for, I guess, logistics reasons.
Yeah. And they even go so far as to say that at minimum, they need, to have voice only options, but video is obviously preferred.
Yeah, I think it's a little hard for us to know whether in-person or virtual focus groups would be more effectively attended. Given that it's like there's a ton of variables there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's we know authoritatively that people would, these GBI participants and the control group would not meet in person, or whether they prefer virtual is kind of hard. It's like we won't know until we actually know those people.
Yeah. It's hard to solve a problem we don't know exists or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they are basically saying, hey, this is what we think will be most effective with the information we have now, which is minimal. And they're flexible, they would be flexible if needed. But it would update, like basically would update their proposal. They would bill us additional flights basically for every in-person engagement. So yeah, so if I had to sum up this like 2-page document, that's what I would say it says.
Any other comments from the qualitative response, Grace or Kelly?
No, I'm just gonna echo the same thing Christina really said. I understand their logic, but it's just tough to plan for only one situation and not have flexibility for another.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that was said. Flexibility would be a good thing that, maybe they offered some in person without having to redo the budget and things like that. So.
Yeah, and then the last question, I guess, is related to the qualitative work about their travel budget and if their current budget reflects that the need for what their travel capacity will be required. And they kind of answer that if we require that, if we anticipate them needing to be in person, that it would add to their travel budget about $2,000 to $3,500.
Okay.
Perfect.
Did you get everyone's score sheets for this one?
I do, yeah, and I have the average score that I'll pull up.
Okay. But in summary, their answers don't really change scores. I don't think. It confirms what we thought they were saying.
Mhm. Okay. All right, can you all see this? The spreadsheet?
Mhm.
Okay. Perfect. So I'll just walk through it real quick. On the left-hand side, I have the rubric categories. Each of these sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the totals, and then a breakdown of each of their component parts. And so all of what we see under WashU is their component part average scores across all 5 selection committee members. And then we see the total of those averages for each subsection. So between WashU and Omni, they both scored pretty high for scope of work, near 50, with 48 for WashU and 43.8 for Omni. So I don't see that as being too drastic. If you look at the line items, each of those score pretty high. The biggest difference is for equitable approach. WashU scored a 9 and Omni was averaged at 7.6. But other than that, they scored pretty close across all the variables A through F. If I recall in our discussion, we talked about how WashU might have greater context on our local environment. And because of that, they may be able to provide a more equitable approach. So that could be one way to interpret the difference there.
Yeah, and I like, there's some of the research questions demonstrated that understanding.
And then the category,
Two.
yeah, for proximity to St. Louis, there's an obvious winner there between WashU and Omni. WashU scored high because they're located and do work regularly in St. Louis. And then for costs, there's a slight advantage to WashU, but again, they both scored pretty high. WashU scored 18.8 out of 20, Omni 16. The biggest difference was in pro bono services. I think WashU described some services that they wanted to contribute to this project, and Omni didn't as much. And then everyone scored this section differently. So we could revise the scores to exclude it because we're working with institutions and not, I guess, I'm not sure if Omni's for profit or not, but this category doesn't. Sorry, what was that?
I was just gonna say, I thought Omni stated they were nonprofit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so this would apply to them.
I'm pretty sure all the applications we looked at, none of them could really qualified in this category.
Yeah, I don't think that this would change the score very much, but if it did, it would reduce Omni's score by 1.2 and WashU's by 0.4. So,
Yeah, I don't think, it's just a little bit of noise.
yeah. But in total, WashU's total averages are 76 out of a total of 90, and Omni's is 62.4 out of a total of 90 points. So we have I think a clear winner, and I think the margin's great enough that, yeah, I'm interested. Do you all have any comments on the difference in scoring?
Are we ready to make a motion? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we we award the data and evaluation GBI contract to WashU.
Second.
Roll call?
Roll call. Thank you. Roll call. Grace,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
myself, I, and I'll put Treasure Lane as not present. All right.
All right, you want to stop sharing?
Yep.
Close out, close this out.
Yeah, so as I said before, the financial distribution RFP closed today, so we're receiving all of those. I'll be getting those as well as the rubrics to you all by the end of the week. While we are together, should we talk about scheduling, or Grace, would you prefer that we do that asynchronously to accommodate your?
No, we can talk about it now.
Okay.
My preference, if folks are available, would be Thursday, the 29th.
Thursday, the 29th.
I'm available between 10 and 3.
Is that between 10 and 3?
Mhm.
Okay. Kelly, what's your availability like?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do any time between 10 and 3.
Okay. I am good for 11 to 2. Or 11 to 1 actually, and then 2 to 3. Grace, do you have a preference?
No, I do not know my schedule next week. So 11 to 1 sounds like a winning time frame.
Okay.
What time, do you know when the treasurer would be free?
Yeah. Let's go for 11:30 to 12:30. And I don't know if we'll need the full hour. Does that work for everyone?
Mhm.
Perfect. Per Robert's rules, there's a way that I have to close this out. I think I have to motion to adjourn.
Yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion. Okay, I second that.
Previous roll.
Oh. Can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can say,
Roll
Yeah,
call.
or you could, sorry, Christina. Or you could just say all in favor, say aye.
Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Thanks for bearing with me. I appreciate it. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all. I look forward to meeting next week.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.